My boss fired me because his wife didn't want to cheat on me with him, and now he's threatening to put me in jail. I worked at this company for years, a regular 9-to-5 gig with decent pay and benefits. It was the kind of place where you didn't love it, but you didn't hate it enough to leave. The boss, though, was a piece of work. Everyone knew it. No one said it out loud. He ran the show, and we all just nodded along because the paycheck was good. He'd been there forever, some middle-aged guy with a corner office and a loud voice. The kind of boss who thought he owned everyone because he signed the checks. The thing about him was, he wasn't subtle. He messed around with his secretary all the time. She had a husband, he had a wife and kids, but it didn't matter. It happened right there in the office, closed doors, late nights, everyone pretending not to notice. People saw the way he looked at her, the way she stayed late when he asked. No one cared enough to call it out. Jobs like this don't grow on trees, and we all had bills to pay. So, we kept our heads down and let it slide. He had this reputation, too, for firing people who rubbed him the wrong way. Didn't matter if they were good at their job. If someone said something he didn't like, or even hinted at his little office affair, they were gone. No warning, no explanation. Just a pink slip and security walking them out. I saw it happen a dozen times. Guy in accounting asked too many questions about expense reports, fired. Woman in HR pointed out he missed a meeting, gone the next day. It was his company, his rules. We all got the message. I kept my mouth shut and did my work. I wasn't there to make waves. I had a wife, a mortgage, and a life outside that place. The job paid well, and I was good at it, reports on time, numbers adding up, clients happy. No reason for him to come after me. At least, that's what I thought. But I could tell he didn't like me. Never knew why. Maybe it was my face, or the fact I didn't kiss his ass like some of the others. Either way, he'd glare at me in meetings, skip over my input, act like I wasn't there. I didn't care. I wasn't there to be his buddy. I was there to get paid. The company did well, though. Profits were up every year, and that meant big corporate events. They'd rent out banquet halls, bring in caterers, open bar, the works. Everyone went. You could bring your spouse or whoever, and most people did. It was one of those nights where the booze flowed, and everyone pretended to like each other for a few hours. My wife came with me every time. She liked the free food and the chance to dress up. I liked having her there. Kept me sane while the boss strutted around like he owned the world. That's where it all started, at one of those parties. I didn't know it then, but that night was the beginning of the end for me at that job. The boss had something brewing, and I was too busy sipping my drink to see it coming. Looking back, I should have paid more attention. But hindsight's a bitch, right? The corporate party was in full swing that night. The venue was some fancy hotel ballroom, all chandeliers and overpriced wine. People were dressed up, suits, dresses, the whole deal. My wife wore this black dress she liked, said it made her feel confident. I stuck to my usual jacket and tie, nothing flashy. The place was packed with employees, their partners, and a few clients the boss wanted to impress. Music played, loud enough to drown out the awkward small talk. Food tables were loaded with stuff I couldn't pronounce, and the bar was doing steady business. It was the kind of event where you could forget you hated your job for a few hours. I noticed the boss right away. He was working the room, shaking hands, laughing too loud. His wife was there, hanging off his arm like she didn't know what everyone else did. The secretary was there too, standing off to the side, pretending she wasn't watching him. I didn't pay much attention to it. Same old crap, different night. I grabbed a beer and stuck close to my wife. We talked to a few people, coworkers I didn't mind, their spouses who asked the usual questions about what I did. Normal stuff. Then I saw him looking at us. Not me, specifically, my wife. He'd glance over then look away when I caught him. I didn't think much of it at first. He was a creep, sure, but he'd never done anything beyond staring before. I figured he was just drunk, or maybe he liked her dress too. I wasn't worried. My wife didn't notice, or if she did, she didn't say anything. She was busy chatting with someone from marketing about some TV show they both watched. I let it go. After a while, he made his move. He walked over, all smiles, like he was doing us a favor by gracing us with his presence. He started talking to my wife, ignoring me completely. Said something about how nice she looked, how she must be proud of me working for him. She nodded, polite but not overly friendly. I stood there, sipping my beer, waiting for him to get bored and move on. He didn't. Instead, he leaned in closer and said he wanted to talk to her alone. Claimed it was about me, something he didn't want me to hear, like a surprise or some bullshit praise. I didn't buy it, but my wife shrugged and followed him a few steps away. I watched them, figuring it'd be quick. It wasn't quick. They were gone maybe 10 minutes, out of earshot but still in sight. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but I saw his hand on her arm, saw her pull back once. My gut started twisting. I didn't want to make a scene, not there, not with everyone watching. So I waited, gripping my bottle a little tighter. When she came back, her face was red, eyes wet. She grabbed my arm and pulled me toward the exit. I asked what happened. She didn't answer until we were outside. Outside the hotel, the air was cold. My wife was shaking, not from the weather but from whatever just went down. I asked again what happened. She looked at me, tears spilling over, and said the boss tried to pay her to cheat on me. Straight up offered her cash, $5,000, to sleep with him. Said it'd be a one-time thing, no one would know, and he'd make it worth her while. She told him no, obviously, and he got pissed. Started saying she'd regret it, that he could make life hard for us. She walked away after that, found me, and that's when we bolted. I stood there, processing it. My boss, the guy I worked for every day, tried to buy my wife like she was some kind of escort. $5,000. That's what he thought she was worth. What I was worth. Rage hit me hard, but I didn't know what to do with it. My wife was crying, saying she felt dirty just hearing him say it. I told her it wasn't her fault, that he was a scumbag. She nodded, but I could tell she was still shaken. I was too, just in a different way. Word spread fast. Someone must have overheard something, or maybe the boss said too much to the wrong person. By the time we got to the parking lot, people were whispering. I saw a couple coworkers glance our way, then look down at their phones. The party started falling apart after that. The boss came storming out, yelling that the night was over, telling everyone to go home. No explanation, just orders. People grabbed their coats and left, some confused, some smirking like they knew exactly what was up. The whole thing was a mess. I didn't sleep that night. Kept replaying it in my head, his smug face, my wife's tears, the way he thought he could get away with it. I decided I wasn't letting it slide. I called the police around 2 a.m., told them what happened, gave them the details. They said they'd look into it, but I'd need to come in later with my wife to make a formal statement. Fine, I said. I wanted him on record. But then my phone rang an hour later. It was the boss. He said there was no need for cops, that we could handle it ourselves. Said he'd see me at work tomorrow, and we'd sort it out. His voice was calm, too calm. I didn't trust it. I told him I'd be there. Not to sort it out though. I was done playing nice. He'd crossed the line, and I wasn't going to let him walk away from it. I figured I'd go in, confront him, maybe even take his job if I could swing it. He'd been sloppy, and people knew it now. I had leverage. Or so I thought. Looking back, I was naive as hell. But that night, I was running on adrenaline and anger, and I wasn't thinking straight. I woke up the next morning with a clear head and a plan. The boss had messed with my wife, humiliated us both, and I wasn't going to let him sit in that office acting like nothing happened. My job was good, sure, but I didn't need it that bad, not after what he pulled. I figured the company was already buzzing about the party. People saw my wife upset, saw him shut it all down. He wasn't untouchable anymore. I decided I'd go in, call him out in front of everyone, and see if I could turn the tables. Maybe even get him out and take his spot. I'd been there long enough, knew the work better than most. It wasn't crazy to think I could pull it off. My wife didn't want me to go. She said he wasn't worth it, that he'd just fire me and move on. I told her I couldn't let him win. She didn't argue after that, just asked me to be careful. I promised I would. I got dressed, same suit I always wore, nothing special, and drove to the office. The whole way there, I rehearsed what I'd say. I'd keep it simple. He tried to pay my wife for sex, he's a dirtbag, and he doesn't deserve to run the place. I'd say it loud, in the open, where everyone could hear. Let them pick sides. When I got there, the parking lot was quieter than usual. No one lingered outside like they normally did. I walked in, and the office felt off, tense, like people were waiting for something. A few coworkers glanced at me, then looked away fast. I headed straight for the boss's office. His door was closed, but I could see him through the glass, sitting at his desk, on the phone. I didn't knock. I walked in and stood there, arms crossed. He looked up, ended his call, and leaned back in his chair. No surprise on his face, just that same smug look he always had. He didn't say anything at first. Just stared at me. I started talking told him what he did was disgusting, that everyone knew it, that he couldn't keep running things like this. My voice was steady, louder than I expected. I saw people outside his office turn their heads, listening. He didn't interrupt. When I finished, he stood up, walked around his desk, and got close, too close. He said I was done. Fired, effective immediately. Said I'd crossed the line coming in here, accusing him. I told him he crossed the line first. He didn't flinch, just pointed at the door and told me to get out. I didn't move right away. I wanted him to squirm, to see if he'd back down with everyone watching. He didn't. Instead, he picked up his phone and called security. 2 guys showed up fast, escorted me to my desk to grab my stuff. People stared, but no one said a word. I packed my things, a mug, some pens, a couple files, and walked out. I thought that was it. I was wrong. I got to my car, threw my stuff in the back seat, and sat there for a minute. The adrenaline was still pumping, but now it was mixed with something else, shock, maybe. I'd just lost my job. Years at that place, gone in 10 minutes. I didn't regret calling him out, though. He deserved it. I figured I'd call my wife, tell her it was over, and we'd sort out what came next. Before I could dial, my phone buzzed. It was a number I didn't recognize. I answered, and a voice said it was the police. They needed me to come in for questioning. Right now. I didn't get it at first. I'd called them about the boss, not the other way around. The officer on the phone didn't explain much, just said it was urgent and gave me the station address. My stomach dropped. Something was wrong. I drove there, mind racing. Maybe my wife had gone in early to give her statement, and they needed me to back it up. That had to be it. I pulled into the lot, walked inside, and told the desk officer who I was. They took me to a small room with a table and 2 chairs. I sat down and waited. 2 cops came in after a few minutes. One was older, gray hair, tired eyes. The other was younger, taking notes. They didn't waste time. The older one said they'd gotten a call from my boss. He told them I'd set the whole thing up at the party, made up the story about him and my wife to ruin him and take his job. Said I'd been plotting it for months, that I was jealous of his position and wanted him out. They had a statement from him, signed and detailed. He claimed my wife was in on it too, that we'd staged her tears for sympathy. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told them it was nonsense. My boss was the one who propositioned her, not the other way around. I explained the party, how she came to me crying, how he shut it down after people started talking. I said I'd called them last night to report it, check the records I told them. The older cop nodded, said they'd look into it, but they had to follow up on the boss's complaint too. They asked if I'd threatened him at work that morning. I said no, I just told him the truth. The younger one wrote that down. They kept me there for an hour, asking the same questions different ways. Did I have proof? Witnesses? Anyone who'd back my story? I said plenty of people saw what happened, but I didn't know if they talk. Everyone at that company was scared of losing their jobs. The cops didn't seem convinced either way. They let me go, said they'd be in touch. I walked out feeling like the ground was shifting under me.